Homegrown Melodies Commission project received support from the Infusion Fund, a partnership between the City of Charlotte, Foundation for the Carolinas, and generous donors to support the arts and cultural sector. Now we got the business part out of the way. We'd like to introduce, is she here? Okay, we're going to introduce Madison Bush, and let me hand the microphone over here.
Hey! Madison, everybody loves you. Woo! So I'm going to read a quick program note, which is also on my phone, so she can watch me read that program note. It's going to be, you didn't know you were getting comedy and music today, but the music will be better than the comedy, I promise. All right. So y'all, the Drive There and Back is a 4-movement work that depicts the experiences of driving from Columbia, South Carolina to Charlotte and back. The first movement represents the steady anxiousness of traveling I-85. Anybody have any anxiousness? Yes, thank you. As the lanes increase from 2 to 4 lanes once you arrive in Rock Hill. The second movement focuses on the navigation aspect, on missing turns and exits and waiting for the GPS to reroute. In the third movement, the tone shifts as the sun sets in downtown Charlotte and nighttime creeps in. The final movement focuses on the sometimes harrowing drive out of Charlotte and incorporates themes from the first 3 movements. So, enjoy The Drive There and Back by Madison Bush.
I love this piece that I wrote for this beautiful group of musicians behind me, From the Mountains to the Sea. I wrote it this past summer. It was hot. I was out with my dog. I have a Great Dane, giant Great Dane named Sadie Mae. And we were out walking every day. And after I knew that this commission had come through and these folks would be doing this amazing, amazing project, I just kept waking up one morning with ideas, and then I would go walk the dog and more ideas, and I would come back home and sit down with my composing stuff and get to work. And it was clear to me, all of a sudden, just the title, and you wake up from sleep, you know you get the best ideas when you're in between spaces, in the shower, walking the dog, doing dishes. Well, I woke up, and the title for the piece was right there, From the Mountains to the Sea. So that's what I knew I was going to write. And the ideas kept coming, and before I knew it, it was done. And I was sad to leave this world, because this is an entire world built up of this beautiful state we live in. How many of y'all are native North Carolinians? Can I see a show of hands? Wow, quite a few. And then now everybody else, who lives here? Who lives in North Carolina now and calls it home? Yeah, I love this place. I was born in Metairie, Louisiana, but that doesn't stop me from being a North Carolinian. I love calling this state home, and I wanted to write this piece from the perspective of the land itself. You travel around the state and you feel different ways. You go see the mountains, you feel one way. You go down to the ocean, splash, you get in the water, you take walks, you feel another way. Well, how does the land feel? Our land is full of relations that are not human beings, and I wanted to bring their voices forward. The sand, the water, the stones, the trees, the plants. All of these things are in this piece. And it was my greatest hope that you will find the piece touch you in some way and motivate you to get out and explore how you feel about different regions of this beautiful state we call home. Without further ado, From the Mountains to the Sea.
out today. We're going to play one more piece before a brief intermission, so you know what that means. It's a perfect time to refill your drinks. But before we do that, I would like to invite the dual composers up to talk about their piece, Reach. This piece is a wonderful collaboration between hip-hop beats and instrumental ornamentation. So please come up to the stage, Royal City Leaf and Elizabeth Kowalski.
Hello everyone, how y'all doing? Awesome. So my name is Leaf, introducing this piece called Reach. So I'm a hip hop producer, R&B producer, and basically what Reach is about is being on a journey, as many of us are on, to reach maybe another level, to reach a certain goal, and all the ups and downs that come with that, right? So a lot of the positive emotions, the negative emotions, but the journey is still steady nonetheless. So when you hear the beat, as most hip hop beats, the kicks, the drums are kind of what grounds it to keep it steady. But what Liz has done with it by adding her magic to it kind of adds those nuances to the overall piece, which kind of complement the theme around Reach.
Thank you. And to talk about the instrumental part, you know, when I got the track, it was called Reach the Shore. And so when I was composing the instrumental part, I was imagining seeing the shore and, you know, just this whole journey getting there, the ups and downs like Khalif said, but also, you know, the transformational experiences that happen and the unexpected, the pleasant, the everything, you know, and so and then finally reaching no matter what, you know, so that's kind of what that's going on. We hope you enjoy it. Enjoy the ride.
So now I'm going to talk about the next piece because I wrote it, which is an exciting kind of newer endeavor for me. I've been writing music for about 5 years. I've been playing the clarinet for a few years longer than that. And so I appreciate your attention on this one. With the theme of homegrown melodies, you betcha I grew up in North Dakota. And, you know, so in North Dakota we also have a lot of trains, and I have noticed in my neighborhood and around town that there are quite a few train sounds here in North Carolina. And so I got one of my neighbors here, she can attest, there's a train track real close to our houses. And so I wanted to make that connection. I write, at this point I write exclusively works with electronics, and so you're going to kind of feel like you're in the middle of a train yard. This is kind of part composition, part installation. And in addition to the recording of the train, I found a recording of a Carolina wren, a bird. And so this piece is titled Land of the Sky. And to kind of tie those two pieces together, I found a Southern Railroad campaign for railroads of the Carolinas that that transgressed through the Carolinas and talked about, that was the name of the railroad, Land of the Sky. And then I started writing, and I started kind of drawing the musical parts from the recording, and I kind of realized that a train sound is a warning sound, right? It's actually kind of like an intense warning, the bells, and it kind of made me think a little bit about the progress that or the regress that trains and the way that we develop this country and the complicated past of our country. And kind of, I think so that there's kind of some element of a little bit of kind of nature versus this machine coming through. And so the instruments, also the train is kind of its own instrument, and then the instruments sort of have big solos, and I think for me that's kind of them taking a moment and kind of almost kind of fighting back or offering, you know, some kind of resistance to this, you know, this train that's coming along. So I hope you enjoy Land of the Sky, and here we go.
since I did so well introducing in the first half, I now have the pleasure of introducing our next composer. While we may not have started out as friends in this composition project, I certainly do believe that we are now. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you guys Zach Zubo, talking about his project, One for Me, One for You.
Thank you. So I previously knew Jessica Lindsay, and she asked me to write this piece of music, and I've been so happy to get to know all of these wonderful musicians, and you guys are just so great to work with. They kept saying, "You're so great to work with," and I was like, "No, you're so great to work with." We just kept going back and forth. But so in our conversations between Jessica and I, she said, "What do you think about writing a piece about beer?" And I was like, "Yes, of course. How about local beers?" I said, "Even better." And it fits the whole theme with the Homegrown Melodies. And so what I tried to do was actually style the music like the style of the beers themselves. So I'm going to walk you through the movements real quick. So Sláinte is actually not about beer, but it's a way that you would say cheers in Ireland. So put yourself in like an Irish pub on St. Paddy's Day for the first movement. The second piece is called Familiar Feelings, which is a beer from here, and it's Carolina Chocolate Oatmeal Stout. So put that on your palate while you're listening to it. Stylistically, I try to make it sort of dreamy, almost Vertigo, kind of like, and sort of elicit familiar feelings in a way. The third movement is called Juicy J from Legion Brewing. It's an IPA, and so I was like, how do I do an Indian Pale Ale? And I started listening to like Indian EDM. And I went down a rabbit hole and it was amazing. And it's real bubbly, kind of hoppy, spicy in a way musically. And then the fourth movement is called Up All Night. It's based on a beer from Triple C Brewing, which is an imperial porter. It's kind of a lullaby in a way. Okay, so think about that. And then the last one that's dedicated to beer is called Rewind from Birdsong Brewing. And I try to use an American style classical music, which is minimalism in a way. So there's a little bit of minimalism built in, but Rewind is kind of a minimalistic thing anyway. So anyway, and then the last movement is called Salud. It's like you've had a couple beers with your best friend at the end of the night, and give them a warm hug and say goodbye. So, thank you. Here's one for me, one for you.
before we play that, I'd like to first of all say thanks to Free Range Brewing for collaborating on this wonderful space. Thank you. So thanks to the Galma for creating our beautiful logo. Thanks to Elizabeth Palmisano for creating the artwork for this project. I also want to thank We Rock Charlotte for providing the space for connection. Thanks to Deanna Bright and Familia Creative Media for capturing this momentous moment. Thank you, UNC Charlotte, for being the home for our regular rehearsal space. Following people: Becky Lipka, Lily Moore, Adam Lytle, Eric Kennedy, and Meg Whalen. And let's say thanks again to our composers. Please stand up and let's have a big round of applause. Okay, we've got one more to do, and I'm going to turn it over here to Dylan, who's going to talk about his final piece.
Thank you all for being here. I have the microphone, so I'm going to use it for a minute. So if you have to leave, just don't let me see you, because I will call you out. All right. So the last piece is called "Growing Up Klezmer," and because of the state of the world, I do need to say something, but no members, no composers, no personage of Burt Reed's endorses any violence of any kind out in the world. We should be able to solve all of our problems with words and hopefully art. So, Growing Up Klezmer, for those of you who do not know what klezmer is the instrumental folk music tradition of the Jewish people. And while I may have certain, sometimes even not popular opinions about what is happening in the Middle East, I really do want for us to find common ground with people and let cultures be celebrated and unite us, as opposed to separate us. I don't think I stuck my foot in my mouth, so on with the piece. So, Growing Up Klezmer. Klezmer has been a huge motivating presence in my life as a musician. You know, when you start your musical journey, at some point, hopefully, you get a private teacher. And that private teacher tells you what not to do and what to do. And most of the time, you really should listen to your private teacher. Almost all the time. Because there's reasons why they're saying it, even if they're not readily apparent. So when I discovered, like, klezmer, like, truly discovered that it was, like, part of my heritage, that it had this lineage going back thousands of years, and like the music began speaking to me. I'd already been studying classical music for a really long time. And I took it to my private teacher, and she said no. She said, not yet. Learn how to play Mozart, learn how to play Tchaikovsky, learn how to play all these people that we hear all the time nowadays whenever you go to a classical music concert. Great music, and there's a reason why she wanted me to do that. It's to prepare me for a career which is very difficult, but she said no, and I listened, and I probably shouldn't have, because years later, when I finally had done my scales, had learned Tchaikovsky, had learned Beethoven, and it had been, you know, a decade of me studying music at that point, suddenly I was like, you know what? I know what I'm doing now. Let me go learn something else. And so I traveled up to New York, upstate New York, and I went to what was then the last Klez camp. And Klez camp changed my life. It was the first time that I had actually listened to music with my ears as opposed to listening with my eyes. And if you're a classical musician, if you spend any time as a classical musician, we spend a lot of time looking at music and not enough time really listening while we're looking. And so this was a big challenge for me. I took in the sounds of klezmer, and I worked with professional klezmer musicians, and they taught me the style. And then, years later, we're right here, today, with this piece, Growing Up Klezmer. So, let me go through the movements real quick, because there's reasons for them all. The first movement has 2 tunes in it. It's called Der Gassen Nagun, which is probably the most famous tune that I use in here. If you listen to klezmer, and preface, if at any point you are inspired to listen to klezmer and you're going, well, I'm not Jewish, can I do this? Yes. As a representative of all my people in this moment, I invite you to explore and enjoy klezmer. It is for everyone. And if you know the history of klezmer, it is a music of assimilation and taking other styles and making it its own. So if you listen to klezmer and you really trace the lineage, you can find a lot of other cultures embedded within it. All right. Professor, sorry I'm taking a little time on this. First movement, Der Gassen Nagun. It's what's called a hora. This is music that you would hear at a Jewish wedding as the wedding party, bride and groom, is walked back to their threshold, and where they will then consummate their marriage. So the entire time you have this walking tempo that happens in klezmer music. And then the party happens after, the act. Which takes us into our second tune of the first movement, which is a relatively obscure klezmer tune called Der Niklaver Bulgar. And you can kind of pair most klezmer songs together. If you go to a klezmer band, they'll usually just start linking songs together, and it's by key. And so, I don't know, I listened to this Niklaver Bulgar, and I was just like, oh, this is the one. This is the one I want to write. And so this first movement is the closest thing to klezmer that I can make a reed quintet do, because this is not a traditional klezmer band. Now, having said that, there are some reed quintet-y things in here, but it's the closest to true klezmer. We then move into the second movement, which is called Rosnicki's Raisins and Almonds. And it's a song popularized by a composer in the early 1900s called Goldfaden. And this was a lullaby that was sung to my mom by her bubby, and was sung to me as a child. And I have vivid memories of listening to this song on the radio or the cassette deck with my mom, and I would just look over at her. Her face would be streaming tears because it reminded her of her family. And it's become like this weirdly important piece to me. And so it was a no-brainer when I was asked to write this stuff that I wanted to include this lullaby. And this movement features our English chorus. And then the third movement, again, thinking of my mother, she was a folk singer. And so she carried her guitar with her everywhere, and she had a lot of musical tools that she collected over the years. And so one day I was in our music room, and I saw her rain stick. And again, this thought of homegrown melodies to me was wow. And I wanted to write something with a rain stick. After I wrote the piece, the rain stick wasn't right. This is a little tiny rain stick. It's great for a folk singer. It's not so good for a concert stage. So I did what anyone does. We went online and we bought a bigger rain stick. And we practiced with it, and it worked. It sounded great, but it just wasn't right. wasn't right. So thankfully Teal had purchased this ocean drum. It's really cool. You will hear it. It's amazing. It's kind of like ocean rain, which is kind of the same thing. So the Doina and the Rain. Doinas are a rhapsodic solo, usually by the clarinist, sometimes by a violinist, sometimes by a flute. Then they have a backup band who is basically playing static chords behind them. And again, this is pretty close to klezmer, but with reed quintet influences. And then Homegrown. Well, Carolina, how the heck am I going to make Carolina klezmer? The last movement is called Carolina Bulgar. It's my version of klezmer mixed with reed quintets and my own experiences in Charlotte specifically. There's a lot going on in this city, and sometimes it can be disorienting. But then you hear or you see these unifying ideas, and I just put it through a klezmer lens, but with a reed quintet flair. So Carolina Bulgar is what we're going to finish up today. Thank you for letting me talk your ears off. Oh, we got a walker. I warned you.
So